Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 223, recording on Sunday, February 16th, 2025. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And we finally have some news, exciting developments in the video game world, courtesy of a Sony State of Play for February 12th, 2025. We'll be going over this thing meticulously, breaking down every trailer, every turd, every megaton. We're going to cover it all. And I think we're going to lean heavier on the turds, but I don't want to sway you. What's going on, guys? Everyone doing okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. A little tired from shoveling. What about you guys?
Oh, yeah. I think they announced that over the last 24 hours here, we got 35 centimeters, something like that.
Yeah, I heard GTA was even worse than here. So
I had to do like 3 sessions, and I just went out there to take my dog out, and the plow came through again. So I got another end of the driveway session to do probably after this. So, maybe I'll wait for the morning for that, just in case another plow comes by. But it's been nasty. I heard you guys got a lot of ice, though.
That shit's going to turn to ice at the end of the driveway. You got to.
No, it's cold. It's cold here. It's not like you guys. Like I was in Stony Creek near you guys, and there was freezing rain yesterday. It was nasty. So,
okay,
not ideal.
Yeah, I've been shoveling. Everyone's shoveling. It sucks. I hate it. My back killing me. But let's get
good reason to sit and watch a State of Play while you're icing your back or heating your back.
Playing some great games, which we'll get into in what we played. But let's start with the first game in the State of Play. Yet again, Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm so sick of hearing about this game. I'm gonna buy it. It will not go away. I feel like they're doing themselves more harm than good at this point by putting it and leading everything off with this game. As I said during some live discording during this State of Play, the only benefit of the doubt I'll give it is the last game Sony tried to force feed me that released in February was my game of the year of last year. So it's maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe I do want to be force fed Monster Hunter Wilds. But I honestly, I couldn't tell you what was new in this trailer or whatever we saw. I was just like, okay, just give me this game in 2 weeks and shut up.
Well, I think the thing they announced, I think overall, I think that it looked super polished still, but I'm pretty sure I thought that before.
Yeah.
And it looked like, very interesting bosses. But I think the thing they announced that was quote unquote new was that, first free update character or whatever. I don't know. I don't know why they even announced that stuff. Like, why not just drop it? Who cares? People even know what that monster is. Is that like a thing that people should know and get excited for? I don't get it. But I think that was the whole reason, just to keep it in people's minds of like, hey, check it out.
It doesn't feel like a game that needs mentioning that it has long-term support. Like anyone who's familiar with Monster Hunter has seen expansions, like standalone DLC and separate versions between Sunbreak and whatever the other Rise. And it's just like you're going to milk this thing to death. We know. Just give us the game. Enough is enough.
Was any of that stuff exclusive to PlayStation 5 or no?
Not that I know of, but I don't remember that being the case.
Yeah, I don't remember it being mentioned either. But yeah, that would be the only reason I would think that would be, worth mentioning at the top of the show like that. But yeah, it's getting promoted quite a bit. There's is there some kind of demo or beta out for it right now? Because I always see it at the top of the Steam demo charts. People are chomping at the bit for this thing. So
yeah, there's an open beta. I don't think anything carries over. There's no real incentive to play it unless you just want to get really good at the game before it comes out to some degree. But I will be picking it up and giving Monster Hunter another honest effort. We'll see if it takes this time. Next up, Shinobi for our friend Jay, a new Shinobi game, Shinobi Art of Vengeance, a 2D side scroller. I don't know if it's a Metroid-like or any other details about it, but I thought it looked very good.
Yeah, I believe it is not a Metroidvania. Like I feel like I read that somewhere, although I don't see that on the PlayStation blog right now. But yeah, I'm kind of interested. I mean, Jay himself was like, not interested in a new modernized Shinobi, but it does have a bit of a retro feel, so that kind of drew me in as well.
Yeah, I mean, with Ninja Gaiden having another retro release this year, a new side-scrolling version, might be a little overkill. If I had to pick between the two, at this point, I would pick Ninja Gaiden or Gaiden.
Mm-hmm. I must say I would too, but the fact that this one's made by the guys that made Streets of Rage 4 gives it some good cred in my eyes because I really like Streets of Rage 4. Slightly different gameplay style, but I think a lot of the fighting mechanics will transfer, and I don't know. I think it has a lot of potential. The art style didn't really grab me as much as I thought it would. It's very similar to the Streets of Rage 4 art style, but I don't know if it was like a lack of contrast or something like that between the backgrounds and the characters and the effects, but something about it didn't like pop as much as that Ninja Gaiden one did. But overall, I think it's got some potential.
Releasing August 29th of this year, so relatively soon, I suppose. Next up, some more Sega stuff. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I know the Sonic Team Racing and other Sonic racers have been quite popular, especially considering Mario Kart is only available on Nintendo platforms, so this feels like its main competitor. I gotta say, I've tried some of these Sonic racing games. This one did nothing for me. It looked so generic and like a blatant ripoff of Mario Kart Deluxe 8, like switching to gliders and the hovercrafts and all that type of thing. I thought it was like a kind of a step backwards from what I remember playing in the last Sonic racing game. So I don't know. Any thoughts?
I don't think I've played one of these racing games before, but I also thought the actual like racing part, nothing really blew me away, but there was some kind of interesting looking tracks that, might be interesting to explore, but I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat. Nothing really grabbed me here as a big thing. I mean, a lot of the characters, I probably don't even know, to be honest. I mean, I the Sonic characters and stuff, but
I mean, I'm looking it up. I'm like, something has got this game feels so old, and it is releasing on the Switch as well. So it feels like a case potentially where Switch compatibility is like bringing all other versions
everything down.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. My nephew loves Sonic and loves Mario Kart, so I feel like this is a game made for him. Although, as you said, there are a couple others in this series already. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Like they're even driving over question marks and stuff. And it's like, isn't that? There's no shame in just complete ripping off other games these days. But I don't know.
At least make them balloons like in Diddy Kong Racing. Like, let's get real.
Exactly. I was never fully clear if this was like Mario Kart style, like with a lot of power-ups and items, or if it was more like traditional racing, at least the previous ones. This one definitely looks more Mario Kart-ish than I thought. So
it is very similar to Mario Kart. Next up, and this is the point where I was getting very worried.
Yeah.
Digimon Story Time Stranger. Nothing about Digimon. I have no affinity. I don't even like Pokemon, so I certainly don't care about Digimon. I have nothing to say about this except I was very concerned as a Blue Haze guy when I saw this as the next announcement. I'll be honest, it doesn't get much better for a while. This was a rough state of play.
I must say, when I saw this, I was like, is this just going to be a big, like, fuck you, Nintendo state of play? Because it seemed like didn't Monster Hunter basically come out on Nintendo first, like way back in the day? And then you had, what was the second game? Oh, the Shinobi. I guess that was Sega, so not really the same. But, like a kind of Nintendo-ish game. And then you have the kart racer, which rips off Mario Kart, and then you have this, which riffs off Pokemon. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This is just like an anti-Nintendo, or we're going to try to steal all Nintendo's thunder type state of play. So I was the order that they presented everything in here was kind of surprising to me. But yeah, this
skewed like Japanese, like
yeah
games and
I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking
markets.
I wasn't even really thinking about that from like the Japanese perspective. More of just like ripping off, showing games that blatantly rip off like Nintendo's bread and butter type of titles, and just saying like, "Hey, we got those on PlayStation as well." It was kind of bizarre, but I mean, I don't know. I also know nothing about Digimon other than that it's kind of like Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't either. Sean, you love Digimon. What's going on, dude?
I know nothing about Digimon. I mean, I remember that there was an animated series after Pokemon and that it was a thing, but I'm just looking up when the last Digimon game was. Apparently there was one in 2022 called Digimon Survive, but prior to that it had been maybe like a decade. So yeah, just very surprised that
Bringing
this
it
is
back.
even a franchise that's still going, but hey, someone out there likes it, I'm sure.
And what a bizarre name. Digimon Story. Is that like a thing? Was that what the cartoon was called? Digimon Story?
Well,
Not
it's Digimon
that I know
Story
of.
Time Stranger.
Yeah, I don't know. I would assume
I feel like
Digimon
it's
Story
because-
is like some sort of branding.
See, I thought it was more just it's like there's a narrative associated with it rather than just catching things, kind of like Arceus would be my guess, but
Okay. Or is it more like a statement like Digimon Story Time Stranger? You know, like a statement to a guy?
Apparently there is a series of games called Digimon Story, so it's the
Okay.
latest installment in that
Gotcha.
series. But
yeah.
That's what I had assumed first, but could be either. You know, you never know.
Next up, Lost Soul Aside, which again, I feel like we've heard about this game before. Thought it looked pretty underwhelming visually, some interesting effects with some of the character movement, but very generic third-person action game, which is kind of becoming the trend with these state of plays, like in a not great way. But I mean, if the combat's good, I could see it like being a decent game. It's just nothing about this particular video or presentation was like really stayed with me, to be honest.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I think in the like captions it was saying this like gameplay trailer, and then when they showed it, to me it came across as almost all cutscenes, and I had a really hard time distinguishing what was cutscene and what was gameplay, so I couldn't even really make a good judgment on what this game was. I don't know if it was like actual combat just with cinematic camera added on to give it flair or something, but it was really hard to tell kind of like what, you know, the player would be doing. But yeah, nothing really grabbed me in this one either.
yeah,
Yeah, I said there was a release date announced. I guess it's just 2025.
No, May 30th.
Pre-orders open on February 19th. Okay. I don't know. I'll be holding out for reviews on that one. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, I mean that would be the only thing that would get me to buy this game is if the reviews are amazing, because I don't know, nothing about it really stood out to me. So
It definitely makes me think. I have a backlog of like good third-person action games that I haven't played yet. So that I would much rather get to before a new one that looks somewhat middling, I think. Next up, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. It said it on Friday, a new demo will go live. I did not see the demo. Did anyone?
it is out. I downloaded it, but I didn't play it yet.
Okay,
I'll probably check it out.
I was looking a bunch. Maybe it was all before Friday, but I was going to see if it carried forward. I was going to try it. Any progress you made, but I think I've said before, this feels like somewhat standalone-ish. I'm curious to know how standalone-ish it is. If it is, I might give this one a shot on Friday. And I kind of like the turn-based stuff I experienced in the last like brief jaunt I had with Like a Dragon. And this one has me mildly intrigued. I'll say that.
Yeah, from what I see, you don't get to carry over progress, and the demo is more of just like showing off combat kind of thing. But I'll at least give the demo a look, and I agree that the standalone element makes me kind of interested. But I mean, there's a few other games coming out in the next week or two that might take my attention away from it. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Sorry, Huck.
well, sorry, I just wanted to say, like, I'm pretty interested in this game. You know, I don't know if you guys knew, but these guys made Binary Domain. So anything these guys do, not to mention the Yakuza that I love. So, you know, they could do no wrong in my eyes. This
Did they make
great.
this specific Yakuza game or like certain iterations? I'm assuming they have like
No,
multiple.
that studio who does all the Yakuza games.
All the Yakuza games.
They made like 3 Yakuza games, got sick of Yakuza, made Binary Domain probably the best game ever, and then it sold so poorly that they had to go back to making Yakuza games.
Okay.
And just made tons of money doing that. So hopefully this is their gem of Yakuza that sells so much that they're like, you know what, I'm sick of making Yakuza again. Let's go back to the real game we should be making, and that's Binary Domain 2. So secondary domain.
Looks like they did some Super Monkey Ball games as well.
Did they? Oh, must have been
Scattered throughout there, yeah.
All right.
That's also probably a moneymaker.
The first new announcement that kind of was exciting in a in like a pathetic way was Dave the Diver getting a crossover DLC with Yakuza with Ichiban's Holiday DLC, which included like some beat 'em up levels, possibly for gathering ingredients. I'm not sure, but I really like the partnerships with Dave the Diver. I kind of want to go back to it. I haven't played it since any of the DLC released, and it's I don't know. It's interesting how it reframes a lot of other games and genres within the world of Dave the Diver because it's so unique. So I'm curious to check that out.
I didn't know. So does all the other DLCs put a twist on the Dave the Diver mechanics, or is this the first one to do that?
I think to some degree. I haven't played
the Dredge because it's Dredge.
One.
And what's the other one? There's one other one. Do you recall?
I thought there was a Witcher one for some reason, but I might just be losing my mind. Godzilla, wasn't there a Godzilla one?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think some other ones, but I might go back to it. I never played it on PlayStation, so
Well, you have to.
I think they're really cool DLCs. I have nothing to say about the next announcement, WWE 2K25.
No.
I guess Paul Heyman talking about the island, which is like an open world hub for doing stuff, which to my recollection has not worked in any game ever. When was the last game you can remember where there was an interactive hub world that people loved?
Well, I don't know. People do that in like Destiny 2 and other MMO-ish games. I'm sure WoW has some sort of hub section.
Yeah, maybe MMOs. Aside from MMOs, like I know racing games have tried it, other types of things like fighting games. I would much rather just enter a lobby and get matched up with someone than explore some world. But who knows? Maybe this will be the breath of fresh air the WWE 2K series needs.
I mean, I was surprised they said you could play with up to 50 other players at a time, which did not seem like that many players.
No.
So
Unless maybe the only thing that would be cool about that is maybe some kind of Royal Rumble where you're in the hub world and you get called in while you're exploring things. Maybe. I don't know. Borderlands 4 announcing its release date, September 22nd, and they're going to have another state of play for this game dedicated to this game later in the year. I mean, the two guys from Gearbox, like the most
names again?
Randy and Randy.
Two Randys, isn't it, or something?
Two Randys.
The fake excitement for this game is enough for everyone.
That's funny. I wrote the exact same. I said, I put a note down, like old men with gray in their beards should never like enthusiastically try to say, let's go in any sort of like promotional thing ever. That should just be a thing that's outlawed from any sort of promotional material.
There was something very performative about their excitement that it just does not ring true. So I'm getting very bad vibes from Borderlands 4.
I mean, I don't know. Putting Randy and Randy aside, I'm sure it will be fine, and it'll be another Borderlands game, and I'll probably check it out. But yeah, I'm not like, it's one of the bigger games coming out this year, and it's not, that's not a good sign when that's kind of the big game, in my opinion. But
Actually,
I don't think it's that big of a game.
I actually got like Halo Infinite vibes with cell shading, and I actually felt like they toned down the cell shading compared to previous Borderland games. But there was like some mention of like breaking free of the island or something, so I got this sense that it was like some sort of like open world. Wasn't there another game that was like this where you like were stuck in an island, had to get out in like some MMO type thing? Oh, maybe Far Cry.
Far Cry is like that.
I'm thinking of something else, but I don't know. I just there was something about, maybe it was like the grappling hook thing, or I don't know, just somehow how the game looked and the speed, like it was fast. It felt like it was faster, like more Doom like. And then the grappling hook was very Halo reminiscent to me. So I don't know if it was like the combination of those things just gave me a different vibe, but yeah, for some reason I got this really like Halo Infinite vibe, which is maybe not the vibe you want necessarily for Borderlands, but
Well,
I don't know, I thought it looked pretty good, to be honest.
I hadn't put that together, but I do kind of see what you're saying now about the art style, like especially the environment.
Yeah,
like
the environments in
grass
particular.
systems and terrain clearly seem like they're operating somewhere outside of the cell shaded shaders for some of the other environment and characters. So I don't hate the art style. I think it looks decent. It would have to do something pretty special, or I would need to be starved for new games in September.
Yeah, and I thought that Borderlands, I know they said there was going to be like tons of guns and stuff, which is kind of like Borderlands thing, but I thought also Borderlands kind of hung on their humor and like wasn't Claptrap like the big thing of at least Halo 1 and 2. So they didn't really showcase any of that at all, which maybe they're waiting for the other state of play thing to do that, but that seems like a big part of the Borderlands thing. The thing they have.
They do tend to have characters that have a big personality that they're kind of
exactly.
pushing. And, yeah,
two Claptraps, both named Randy.
There you go.
Won't spend too much on the next announcement. We've talked about it a bunch already. Split Fiction, next Hazelight Studios game coming out in March. Co-op gameplay, kind of more of the stuff we've seen already. Nothing really changed for me. I'm very excited for this game.
Yep.
Okay. Next from, I'm assuming like 2K and it said the creators of The Quarry and those kind of cinematic games, is a new one called Directive 8020, which is like kind of a sci-fi alien horror version of this. This didn't do much for me, but it feels like it might be up both of your alleys. So, Sean, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, so this is another, well, it says it's a Dark Pictures game, so I guess it's another installment in that series. I will say definitely the sci-fi element had me a little more intrigued, although I haven't tried any of the other Dark Pictures games, and I do kind of want to give them a shot.
I mean, they're free almost everywhere at this point. Like,
yeah, they're all on PS Plus, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of intrigued. It didn't like blow me away or anything, but yeah, I might be into it.
I mean, I like the sci-fi element, but it was like a little, I don't know. I thought it was going to go down a different route than it did with like the story. I thought it was going to be just basically aliens. And I guess it kind of is, but I don't know how interested. I haven't had any interest to play the other games. So I haven't, I played Until Dawn and liked it, but ever since that, I haven't tried The Quarry. I haven't tried any of the other Dark Picture anthology games. So although I normally am a big fan of these sort of like story-based walking sims, I don't know. I haven't been lately. I have not been interested in doing them at all. So I don't know if I'll get around to this one.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Dark Pictures ones have some interesting co-op integration stuff, I think, which seems cool. But I mean, I don't know if that's enough. But yeah,
All right. Next up, and this is when I was like at peak concern of how bad the state of play was. And it was Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic, which I don't know the history of the first person Five Nights at Freddy's games. I know there's a ton. I don't know which are like in a continuous series versus offshoots. This feels like some type of horror stealth adventure game. I will say, out of the ones I've seen in the past, this one visually looked the best, but I have absolutely zero interest in it.
yeah.
Same.
Not that interested, but I will, like you said, I think the first like 4 or 5 games were just kind of you sit at a control panel and watch monitors, and that's like all the game is. Like I don't know, they seemed pretty dull to me. But this one, and I think the last one that came out are like a little more like kind of adventure horror games. So maybe I don't know. I will say like Kieran, this was the only trailer from the entire state of play that he was aware that it came out, and streamers and whoever else were talking about it. So I guess that's a reason to have it in there.
Yeah, it's we're just old dudes. We do not seem to resonate with video games the same way kids do. They like terrible games that people stream that are janky. I'm very concerned for the future. Get your kids listening to Game Junk. Get your kids playing good games, please, for the love of God. Get them off this crap.
We need to just ban Twitch and YouTube streaming, and then everything will go back to the way it should be.
I mean, I'm not inherently against streaming. It's as long as the game that's being observed is like half decent. Like these games are so bad. I lied. I said I was at my peak concern with the last game, and it got lower. We're tracking my concern level with the state of play. The next was the Midnight Walk, which we've heard of before. We now have a release date, May 8th. I hope there's something about this game that makes it worth playing, but just saying it's made out of clay is not enough. Like that is not reason enough to play a game. And it feels like that's all this game has to offer is that we made it out of clay. And this is not the state of clay. This is the state of play. And we're going to need you to bring a little more to the table. Like, what is your VR mode all about? Is it the same? Is it the full game?
That's what I was wondering.
We need some actual information here. We can tell by looking at it that it's made of clay. And I would wager it's not that made of clay. Like, I don't think every frame of animation of this game or environment is made out of clay. I'm curious. I could be proven wrong, but just watching the videos, it does not feel like everything in this is complete clay. So I'm not sold. This is a game I will 100% be waiting for reviews on. And you know what? Even then, I won't be able to trust the reviews. It's going to be like, oh, this team took so much time to make everything out of clay. And then I won't even be able to tell if the game's any good because all they'll talk about is the clay. Get to the play.
There you go. Well said.
Sean?
I mean, you said it. Like, what is the VR mode all about? I don't think I knew beforehand that this was a VR game, and then I just saw it.
We talked about it on a previous show.
We did? Okay. I don't remember. But yeah, there's a lot of these stop motion animated games coming out recently. Have there been any that have been particularly great? Nothing's coming to mind. So, but I didn't mind the character designs. Like,
yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. It's like a somewhat compelling art style. It's not like it's a detriment to have this clay idea, but the game is not on screen. It feels like a gimmick game. So I hope I'm wrong. I truly hope I'm wrong. Next up, honestly, one of the most pleasant surprises of the entire state of play. A 2D platformer where you play as a octopus called Darwin's Paradox. And I mean, I could, this might be the game I was the most interested in after the entire state of play. A completely new game, looks like published by Konami, and this seems like a game I will love.
Yeah, it looked like an Inside like, if we could say that, and I thought it looked great. Seemed like a side-scrolling kind of puzzle game, so I'm interested as well.
I guess my initial read was more like pure platformer, but on a second glance, like there's like a stealth sequence that 100% inside, so it's probably somewhere in between. But I thought,
probably.
Yeah, I thought this looked excellent. Like,
yeah, me too.
I'm looking at a screenshot of like an underwater segment with like a big anglerfish. The lighting looks great. Is
that when it uses the ink to like block the light? Is that one?
So. I'm just looking at a screenshot, so I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this game I cannot wait for.
Yeah,
wishlist now.
It says puzzle platformer, so definitely in that zone. And yeah, I agree. I it stood out to me, and I thought to myself, nobody else is going to care about this game, but I will play it.
I mean, I would say if it wasn't for one final announcement, which honestly we don't know that much about, this was the best game of the state of play for me.
I just wishlisted it on Steam, so there you go. It's available not on PS5.
Warriors Abyss, which is taking Dynasty Warriors and putting it through a roguelite or like format. I'm not exactly sure which one. And a midstream drop available that day. I looked at it several times, thought about buying it. I did not buy it though. I wanted to support the dead drop, but there's something about like there's like a tree of like it looks like a skill tree with all these characters. I'm like, I don't know what I can't even see myself making sense of any of this nonsense. So I
over 16 billion battle style combinations.
Yeah, I still might pop on it. It's only $30. Anyone buy it?
No.
It's a top-down version of the series, so it's not like your typical third-person camera. It doesn't look that great to me. Like visually, it looks pretty gaudy. I think that's the biggest detractor for me. If it was like super cool art style, I would have popped. It looks kind of barfy, if I'm being honest. All right. Now we're heating up. Now we're getting into Frank territory. Blue haze starting to
it's getting thick.
Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny. I played the Onimusha remake when it released. I think I platinumed it on PS4 and PS5, and I have never beaten Onimusha 2. So I'm really looking forward to finally playing this game and seeing if it was actually something with the game or me, why it didn't stick back in the day, because I loved Onimusha 1, but never got into 2. Have you guys played Onimusha 2? Anyone?
No. Yeah, I think I've played 1 and 4. 4 was the one with Jean Reno, right?
I think that was 3, but I'm not.
3? Okay, 3 then. 1 and 3. Never played 2.
Yeah, so I'm kind of excited to give this game a new chance. You guys got to go and play Onimusha 1 HD.
Yeah, I should. You know what I did today though? I called like a whole bunch of games I had installed on my Xbox, and I'm like, never gonna play this. Never gonna play this. Never gonna play this. And then I'm like, I gotta trim this down. I gotta trim the fat and get right to the real games. And I feel like Onimusha 1 falls into that trimming the fat category where I gotta get it out of there. So it would be nice. I'll add it to a list of somewhere, but unlikely to get to it ever.
Yeah, it's definitely fat.
How long did it take? 40 plus?
The game?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like 10 hours.
Oh, short.
Oh yeah,
gotcha.
That's great.
Okay, maybe then that's speaking to me. I don't. You know, in that like PS1, PS2 era, games started just like lengthening because they thought people liked long games and the games were shit. Like I thought some of the Onimusha games were
Oh, no,
gonna
this is like
fall
this
in
was
that category too.
almost a launch game, slightly after launch for PS2, and a main story 4.5 hours.
Oh wow. Now that is very interesting.
Oh. All right, next up, the new Onimusha game, which we had seen some snippets of previously, Onimusha Way of the Sword, which is releasing in 2026, I believe. So many samurai games, 3D action games that we're seeing in this state of play and in other places. I gotta say, this one stuck out to me as doing like a different take on combat. Everything else is like all like extremely fast pace and effects driven. This looks like it's going for like a slow, methodical, like using environment to like stop attacks. It's very little to go on, but it felt like there's a bit of a combat hook in the game. But I was very impressed with this gameplay footage.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it. I like the humor in it too, like quick little joke kind of lines and stuff. So I don't know. I'm pretty excited for this game, and it looked pretty good from what I saw.
Yeah, I don't have much of an attachment to the series. Have never played them, so but it looks quite nice. So
yeah, the RE engine is like definitely becoming one of the better looking game engines out there. I'm always really impressed with the stuff they make in it. So, okay, next up, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. What's the correct title, Huck?
Metal Gear Solid Triangle?
Metal Gear Solid Triangle Snake Eater. We
or
finally
Delta,
have
isn't it Delta?
It's a triangle.
Oh, it's a triangle. Releasing on August 28th. Sean, let's get your take on this. Have you ever beaten Metal Gear Solid 3? It feels like a game you've never beaten.
No, I haven't beaten any Metal Gear games other than the first one. I have
that because you had to for work, or had you beat it before you worked on the remake?
I beat it at work, but that was really the only one I had put any time into even prior to that. I've played a bit of 2 and 3. I've never played 4, 5. I think I played Ground Zeroes. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones where like, I'm not.
You love spy shit.
I do. I don't love the hour-long cinematics. I don't know, but like, I am tempted to give this one another shot. And
Sean, I'm going to need you to say something right now.
Okay.
And you're not allowed to refuse. The proof is in the pudding.
Is this a solemn vow?
No. You have to say Metal Gear is the most overrated game franchise of all time.
Metal Gear is the most overrated game franchise of all time.
I want you to mean it, because I know you must think it, because you never try the games.
I kind of agree with you. I mean,
first of all, I don't think that. You think that. Let's be clear.
I do.
Thank you.
I mean, I like the first game.
Go after Sean. All the Metal Gear Solid fans, go after Sean. He thinks it's overrated.
Yep.
Now, Kojima is overrated, but Metal Gear, not. Okay. I will be picking that up, and I'm really curious to see how committed it is to the original game. I know when I first played it, the camera made it, to me, for a stealth action game, almost unplayable. No vision cones. And I've went to like Substance, I think was the follow-up, which was a bit better. Curious to see where this one ends up. I was just going to say, can we talk about the weird, like, Ape Escape teaser thing at the end?
Oh. Yeah, right.
What was that?
I don't.
Did anyone?
It's a snake versus monkey mini game mode, apparently.
Oh, really? Okay, that's bizarre.
Oh yeah,
I think there's. Yeah. I think they announced something for the Xbox version as well. I think. I feel like I heard something about that.
What a weird crossover.
Yeah, definitely weird. I actually checked out at that point. I was like, okay, buying this game. I don't really care.
It's Bomberman for Xbox.
Oh, that's way better.
Kind of cool.
No way. What does Bomberman have to do with Xbox? At least Ape Escape is a PlayStation franchise.
Why would Ape Escape be a better tie-in than Bomberman. At least Bomberman is a fun game. Ape Escape shit.
Every console can have Bomberman. Anyone could have had Bomberman. Like with Xbox, you want it to be something that Xbox.
Put it this way: why would you want Ape Escape?
Because it's Sony exclusive.
Who cares? If the game's
like
shit.
Soul Calibur did different versions, and then one of them had Darth Vader, and it's like, what? Like, what is special about like Darth Vader to this console? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Why not do like God of War or something that's good?
Yeah. Soul Calibur exclusive characters.
Let's not go down this rabbit hole. Let's move on.
Whatever.
I'm sorry I brought it up. Let's move on quickly. Frank, stop looking at what you're doing. Go back to your notes.
Wasn't Zelda? Yeah, Zelda or Link was in the GameCube version, which was pretty cool.
Sean, mute him. Take over.
Absolutely not. Next up, people were freaking out when they saw this. They didn't know what it was. Like, oh, this looks really.
I mean, we should mention there were some big rumors going into this state of play about God of War. People were expecting like God of War 1 and 2 remakes, I think, or a new God of War game. And then a lot of people thought Marathon was going to be shown. And there's one other thing. I can't remember what it was. And I don't think any of them showed up. So
I definitely didn't think the rumors couldn't have been that pervasive because I didn't hear about any of them. Like when it's a serious rumor, it ends up on mainstream sites. Anyway, we got like an extended gameplay trailer for Hell Is Us. Hate the title. Like it feels like a shameless.
It's very generic.
Tie-in to like evoke feelings of Last of Us, like Shadow of and Rise of, like barf-inducing. But I will say it feels like a bit of a mashup of RE and Death Stranding and some other stuff. We had seen it before, but I thought this trailer was really good. I was way more intrigued by this game than I was previously after seeing this.
Yeah, I liked it. I agree. The title is horrible. Every time I see this game, I think it's Death Stranding 2, and then it's not. And then the title comes up. I'm like, who's ever going to remember this title and associate it with this game? Especially since there's that there's like an army game that came out not like last year or the year before. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like Hell Is something as well.
Hell Let
so now I would
Loose?
Yeah, Hell Let Loose. So now I always think of that when I hear Hell something. So I don't know. I think the name is a very poor choice, and I don't know. It's there's no devil like iconography that I can tell that I would associate with Hell kind of thing, and I don't know. It doesn't seem like the art style and the gameplay doesn't seem to match the title. It's a bizarre choice. Who makes this game? Do anyone know?
Rogue Factor. And I don't know exactly what they've done. They've done like some smaller Necromunda, Underhive Wars, and Mordheim. I don't know. It looks good though.
Yeah.
I will say another theme for the state of play, which definitely seems to be the case with Xbox videos as well. Not many exclusives. Every game I looked up is coming to pretty much every other platform. So aside from a few like surprises at the end, nothing about this that is like, wow, I have to play these games on PlayStation or I need
Unless they have an Ape Escape minigame.
Correct. Thank you.
These games,
Soul Calibur characters a bit more.
These guys are out of Quebec.
All right.
Rogue Factor.
Next up, Lies of P Overture. Looks like a DLC, but requires the base version of Lies of P. So I'm not sure in what capacity or how big of a DLC it is. This game clearly borrowed inspiration from From Software games. So it doing what they would typically do and have expansions after the fact. All I can say is I'm so glad I didn't play Lies of P. There's nothing worse than playing one of these games, putting it away for 2 years, and then learning how to replay it if anything, I'll play Lies of P before this comes out and maybe get back into it. But I do not understand how long the tails are for this DLC. Like I know it takes time to make this stuff, but people have moved on from this game. It's such a weird.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it came out 2023. Is that when Lies of P came out?
I think so.
But I mean, I guess that was my question was, is this going to be like their Shadow of the Erd Tree? Is this going to be almost like a full-fledged game? And I mean, there's no real indication of that, but
came out September 2023. So I guess it'll be 2 years after the fact we're getting DLC. I don't like this trend at all. It's not exclusive to Lies of P, but it really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Next up, I got kind of excited. Saw the Pixel Junk logo, a developer which has been very quiet as of late. Like in the early days of PS3, they were dropping titles constantly. It was like these little cool indie games that were all great. And since then, like barely a peep out of the studio. I have Pixel Junk Eden 2 got announced and it was on my wish list. It's been on there for like 3 years and there hasn't been an update for it at all. So this is a new game. Called Dreams of Another. I'll let you guys take this one. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I was kind of excited, kind of the same way when I saw the Pixel Junk logo, and then they didn't seem to be what I was expecting. But I read up about the guy, and I guess the guy was a producer or director on some previous Pixel Junk games, so he is tied to Pixel Junk games, and I guess this is his sort of direction for this game.
I think it's a game by Bion.
So that's like his art handle, and he does apparently he does art. He's like an artist by trade or something like that, or a musician by trade or something. But I thought the art style was pretty good. I don't know why they were focusing so much on like the point cloud rendering or whatever they were mentioning, but I thought it's kind of a neat twist on sort of like flipping the destruction on its head, and you're using a gun to create things sort of idea or expose the world but
I mean, that was all talk though. I didn't necessarily like understand the gameplay for that.
It was hard to tell. It was hard to tell what was going on, and it did seem a little bizarre to have this almost like Monet style environment with a guy walking around with a gun and shooting it. So I don't know. The contrast seems strange to me, but I'm kind of interested to see what it's like. I think I would probably wait for reviews, but I'm not turned off by it. That's for sure.
I'm intrigued. I'm just still have a lot of questions.
Yeah, definitely intrigued. This is another game that has apparently a VR release as well. Don't know what that means, but I'm interested. Just on the Q Games thing, which is the developers of the Pixel Junk series, they did have a game that came out last year called All You Need Is Help. It's like this puzzle game where you have shapes. It's like co-op. Everybody controls a shape and you got to fit them together. And I tried a little bit of it and thought it was actually pretty bad. So, not great.
Okay,
but
you seem to know something about this. Q Games is the publisher. Like,
I think they're the developer.
I don't think so. Like it says like it had the Pixel Junk logo in the video.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. Like that is, I think just because this guy worked as part of the Pixel Junk team at some point. Like this is not part of the Pixel Junk series, but that's also not the name of the company. So it is a little weird.
Okay, so no definitive answers on this. As to what? Like,
yeah, I don't know what the Pixel Junk connection is.
Okay, I guess if I go to Pixel Junk Eden 2, it also has Q Games as the publisher, doesn't really say a developer. And there was another game, Pixel Junk Scrappers, which is also Q Games. So maybe I just missed the rebranding somewhere along the line there. Thank you, Sean. You pulled it all together. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next up, Days Gone Remastered. It's coming back April 25th with a upgrade for $10 or 15 Canadian for previous owners. This might be the reason I've been wanting to go back to this game for a long time now. I did not hate what I played. I just, for whatever reason, bounced off it, and it might have got me back.
Yeah.
This announcement kind of pissed me off, to be
Whoa.
honest, because didn't they rush Days Gone out, the original version, and then end up laying off like almost all of Ben's studio and drop Days Gone 2 as a project? And then they go and remaster Days Gone and then are acting like, oh yeah, like this is the same game you loved, just better for PS5 Pro or whatever their marketing speak is. But I mean, if they had that,
they give it to someone else to remaster. I'm not really sure.
I don't know who did it. But I imagine they gave it to someone else. I think Days Gone or Ben was. I looked into it a bit because
I think Ben did it based on this article.
Did they do it? Because they were working on some sort of live service game that got canceled, and I thought they had lost most of their staff before that.
Ben Studios with our good partners at Climax Studios. So
this is like a co-dev thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. This just rubs me the wrong way. Like I think Days Gone probably got short shrift and probably should have gotten better than it deserved from like sales wise and review wise. But I don't know. Sony come out and like remaster it after they put it out in such like a shitty condition to begin with, instead of taking like, you know, an extra 2 months or whatever they needed to fix up the bugs. Because wasn't there all these like review issues?
I don't think
people had a bad version.
I don't think it had to do with that at all. I think people did not like the protagonist, and like.
So then why are they remastering it? That's not going to change.
Because people actually liked it that played it. Like,
yeah, I think it has developed.
Viewers didn't like it, but people who played the game actually did enjoy it. I don't remember it being like buggy.
It may have been. I don't totally remember, but like I just think it was a game that didn't catch on initially. Like I feel like maybe some other big game came out around the same time, but I also played like maybe an hour of it and kind of was liking it. But yeah, I'm honestly like a lot of these remasters are just like I'll never go back and play this game, but this one I actually think I might because I've wanted to for a while. So
to be fair, the IGN kind of byline on Google is an excess of bugs and busy work. So definitely something where to what Huck was saying there. Next up, more horny Stellar Blade DLC. Seems like that's where this game is going to keep going with Goddess of Victory Nikki DLC. As far as I know, I haven't played any of the DLC. I don't think there's any new content. It's just like costumes and stuff like that. So it doesn't really matter. We can move on from that. Next up, Blueprints, a game that I think I know Sean talked about before, right? You've played this?
I did play the demo of it.
Play it as well? No? And this, you played it?
No, I did not.
Right? And this looks like kind of a puzzle game. Well, tell us about it, Sean.
Yeah, it's kind of like, from what I remember, it's sort of an escape room, first-person escape room puzzle game where you kind of are laying down the blueprints of this house, where it's like you choose where the rooms go, and then you move through them, and it's kind of hard to explain, but I liked it, and I was definitely looking forward to the full release, and this is coming to PlayStation Plus, I believe. So that was kind of a nice bonus.
Yeah, for sure. To see an indie game like this get featured at this level on a State of Play usually means pretty good things. Like,
yeah, I will say the one thing, especially based on last year, it feels like Sony doesn't have a ton of indie games that come straight like day one launches on PlayStation Plus, but when they do, they pick a few that are like high profile, high quality games, and it seems to be seeming to be a better strategy than Game Pass, where it's just shovel whatever you can on there. They're picking like the cream of the crop kind of stuff. So
Okay. Next up, Abiotic Factor. I gotta admit, during the state of play, I didn't remember a thing. I went back and watched the trailer before we recorded. And does anyone know much about this game? It was on Sean's wish list on Steam, and it's like,
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I was like, okay, I've heard the title. It's on my wish list. What is this game? And yeah, reading about it afterwards, I still don't really understand. But
seems
this
like
is
it's a
also,
co-op survival game, drawing kind of from like GoldenEye type graphics. It's
yeah,
I don't get it personally. I mean, I'm kind of intrigued by it, but it feels like a game that would be very dependent on great gameplay, which it's tough to glean from the trailers.
yeah. It looks like it is in early access on Steam already, but this one is also PlayStation Plus, I believe.
Okay, let us know in the comments if you're an avid Abiotic Factor player or early access participant on Steam. YouTube.com/Game Junk. You can let us know in the comments there or in our Discord, whose link you can find as part of the YouTube. Okay, next up, I think one of the first surprises. We're starting to get into like the new stuff of the state of play. Tides of Annihilation.
I was left.
And this is yet another third-person action game. What did you guys think of Tides of Annihilation?
Yeah, I wrote down that it kind of was giving me like a Platinum Games sort of feel to it, but I don't know. I thought it looked okay, but again, it was kind of like a lot of the same sort of vibe you were saying. Kind of nothing really blew me away with this one, but I wasn't turned off. I thought it looked okay.
Yeah, is this the one that was kind of like King Arthur-ish or something? Or am I just imagining that? Yeah, I kind of remember thinking it looked cool, but
I mean, the color palette is not that interesting to me. It feels like a pretty generic looking action game. I thought the combat and effects looked decent. There was one boss moment with kind of a pulled out camera that caught my eye that looked intriguing. Again, feels like there's so many games middling in this AA, AAA Tides of Annihilation. Tough to tell if this is skewing AA or AAA. I would say, to its credit, gives more of a AAA feel. It's from a first-time developer that I can see, Eclipse Glow Games. I think they're in China. But if the reviews are good, I would play this game for sure. I thought it looked visually quite good.
yeah, I guess the one.
Sorry, this does have a Knights of the Round Table thing.
Yeah, and I think the kind of the hook is that it is set in London, but like a fantastical version of London or something, which is kind of a cool idea.
Next up is Metal Eden. I don't think we've seen anything on this before. This is the game people thought was Marathon when it showed up. It had like kind of a Bungie-esque vibe, which someone had mentioned. I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. I think this is Marathon. And it turned out to be this other kind of first-person platforming combat game. Looked pretty good. What did you guys think?
I don't know, not my cup of tea for sure. I couldn't tell if this was a single player shooter or multiplayer shooter.
That was my question as well.
I couldn't really get a read of actually like what this game was about. If it was story based, if it's just here's just a bunch of cool looking stuff. Look at all the effects popping off. They had a little bit of like story teasers, but it was kind of unclear if this is like a story based shooter or just kind of like Concord. It big is story preview, and then it's just multiplayer stuff.
I believe it is a single player game. It releases May 6th of this year. Feels definitely Doom influence with some more. I didn't play. What's the follow-up? Doom Eternal, but that had like some. Why can't I think of grappling hook mechanics and platforming elements as well? So seems like it's in that space. I agree. It doesn't look like mind blowing or anything like that, but I thought it looked decent enough.
It seemed like there's kind of, I couldn't tell if there's like mechs or like if you are just like an android, but I was kind of reminded a little bit of like Titanfall, I guess, too.
I think you're just kind of a human with a suit,
Yeah, maybe.
possibly an android. Um, it looks pretty good. I mean, definitely not the highlight for me by any means, but decent enough. Okay, the next one is the weirdest game in the whole state of play for me. It's called Mind's Eye. I don't believe we've heard of this game before, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And like, it feels a bit like a Deus Ex game mixed with a similar game. I got like cyberpunk elements, but I was like, I can't tell if I'm supposed to be like blown away by this trailer, and I'm not. And the more I look at it, I get more impressed. Specifically, there was something about the car sequences with like this kind of very classic looking car with a future aesthetic. I really like the camera and the car stuff, but the other stuff felt very generic to me. So I would assume the reaction to this game was very poor, like that people were not digging it, but maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe I'm missing something with this game.
I was probably the most jacked up about this game, to be honest. And, I thought I'm kind of surprised at how we've gone away from that sort of GTA style of game in general in the game industry. Like there's no real like driving with missions games coming out in the recent past that I can remember anyways. And a lot of them are just like pure like fantasy action, right? Like a lot of like Japanese like samurai stuff, right? So I thought this was a nice change of pace. And also I did a little, I listened to a podcast that was saying that this company was started by one of the guys who started Rockstar and got kicked out or
Yeah,
left.
that guy that
Build a Robot Boy, I think is the name of the company.
Yeah, Build a Rocket Boy.
they had the guy kind of talking about the game, and I can't remember exactly how they presented it, but his name was like, in the title or something, and it seemed like, oh, this guy's a big deal, and I'm like, who is this guy? So
Yeah.
they're clearly kind of pushing him as some new video game auteur to some degree. But I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, I was a little unclear if it was open world. Cyberpunk was definitely something I was thinking of. It felt a little more like linear and narrative driven. That was the
100%.
impression I got, but it could that could be wrong. I'm not sure.
I don't think it's open world, or that's its defining quality.
Yeah.
Like nothing on Steam mentioning that it's open world at all.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I watched it. I kind of got, I don't know why, but I almost got like Mafia vibes, like, cause I just recently played that Mafia game, and just like how the world seemed to be set up, and, with the little driving sections and then like little mission sections, that's sort of the vibe I got. Now, I don't know if there's not really much to go on there to say that is that way or not, but yeah, definitely Deus Ex, like Human Revolution or Human, whatever that game was called, vibes for sure, and definitely some cyberpunk vibes. So I don't know. I thought it looked good. I thought it looked pretty interesting to me. Maybe my top game of the show, to be honest.
Nice. I could see that. I just didn't didn't hook me, but the more I look at it, the more impressive it is.
Leslie Benzies is the name of the director, I believe.
The car stuff in particular really stood out to me. The cinematics and vibe had a pretty generic feel, but curious to see what the car combat is like. That seemed to be the hook. Okay, the last game, Saros or Saros, I'm not sure which one. Be a lot of speculation when this trailer started playing, and I was pretty early saying it's Returnal 2. No, it's not Returnal 2 specifically in name, but it is definitely the spiritual successor or follow to Returnal. It's developed by Housemarque, and something that was said in the trailer was like it was already indicating some type of cycle with the like waking up on that beach, and I knew pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I really like this direction for Housemarque of like not just doing Returnal 2, and how much can you add to that combat and story? It kind of felt very self-contained, and it's like, okay, let's take the same idea, and we're great at pioneering weapons, like combat mechanics, alt fires and all this stuff. So let's reinvent something that has a similar structure to Returnal, but allows us to kind of develop some new mechanics. And I think it's a perfect way for them to follow up Returnal. We didn't see much. I like the look of the protagonist, but I'm very excited, but not a lot to go on at this point.
Yeah. I never really got into Returnal, but and I don't know, these whole loop games, I'm not totally vibing with them as much as you guys do, but I do appreciate the gameplay. The gameplay is good, and actually, I wrote down like Returnal like before they announced that it was Housemarque, and I was like, oh, that makes sense then, because it is basically Returnal like. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I haven't played Returnal yet. I probably should at least fire it up just so I guess
you haven't even tried
what
it
is. But yeah, it's just no. Like Huck said, like the idea of I knew it was a difficult game to begin with, and then the idea of like that looping thing where it's like I'm just going to keep playing one level over and over and over again. I just didn't appeal to me. But I will say like that's pretty ballsy to have a game that was a pretty big hit, I think, and then just not use the title, in the follow-up and kind of go a different direction in terms of story and a new name, but kind of keep the gameplay premise. That's pretty ballsy. So I admire
Returnal
that.
not on like PlayStation Plus or something like that?
I think it is, yeah.
Dude, you gotta try it. Like the atmosphere alone, it's like got the best atmosphere of any game ever, and it's like clearly drawing inspiration from Alien and Prometheus. But you gotta wake up, dude. You look like you're falling asleep. Wake the fuck up,
Sean. Maybe at some point.
Play it tonight. Make a solemn vow.
I'm good.
Oh, this guy's giving me attitude now. All right. You know what? That's it. Let's give our letter grades.
Who's first?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Well, not that tough, but I mean, it wasn't great. I will say that. I was pretty disappointed overall. There's a couple smaller games that kind of caught my eye, but it did make me think this year might be a bad year for gaming. And I know what Frank's going to say. That's what everybody said last year. So it's possible that's true. But yeah, I'm going to probably say C-.
I'll say a C.
Okay, I'll give it a little bit higher. I'll give it a C+. I like that Mind's Eye game, so it's a bump up for me, I think.
Yeah, the first half was really sad. Second half, more intriguing, but still a little disappointing. So I think C is fair, especially with no gameplay for Saros. All right. Are we going to do what we played? We're about an hour and 8 minutes in already. That actually took a lot longer than I thought it would.
We can. If you want.
I don't really have any. I don't need to go over anything. I've just been replaying stuff I've already played. So,
okay, Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just mention one thing. I've been playing this game that just came out this week called Guns of Fury, which maybe doesn't sound like the most original or interesting title, but it is basically Metal Slug meets Metroid, which I'm kind of surprised hasn't been done, to be honest with you. Like, trying to think of any other Metroidvania type games that have the run and gun kind of feel, and nothing's really coming to mind, but I guess maybe the Turrican games are kind of in that vein, but don't know that much about them. Anyway, yeah, it's super fun. It's like, lots of explosions and like stuff blowing up everywhere, but you're kind of you got a map, you're exploring, you're getting different abilities and weapons and power-ups as you go. So I've only played probably like an hour or two, but I am thoroughly enjoying it.
Nice. Are you playing on Steam or Switch? Looks like those are the only two platforms right now.
I am playing on Steam, on the Steam Deck. I'll give you just a quick little update on the whole situation. So some people had recommended, and I had already been kind of reading about this alternate OS called Bazite, Bazzite.
This feels like such a Sean thing to do. And I feel like that would be the name of your Cenobite hack if you were in Hellraiser.
Maybe. So I installed that, and it mostly fixed my issue, which is strange because it's basically Steam OS with a few small tweaks to it. So it really doesn't feel any different. But it has happened once or twice where I've got that freeze, and now I'm kind of like in that place where I'm like, okay, it's not totally fixed. I don't think it's hardware, but it could be. And maybe it's something that's slowly deteriorating. I don't know, but it's still bothering me, but I can mostly play games and it's mostly fixed right now.
Doesn't it feel like something that was introduced via like a OS update?
It kind of does, but that's where I would have thought installing this completely different OS maybe would have totally fixed it.
It has fixed it to some degree. So my hunch is Steam knows what they did and they do not have a fix for it. And they will basically pretend like nothing has happened.
Yeah, maybe.
Until they know that they can fix it.
Yeah. But
I was really hoping this. I've been on a Metroid-like resurgence, and I was going to fire this up if it was on PlayStation, but it's not. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Okay, I'll talk about a Metroid like I've been playing. Trying to stay on top of games within the year 2025. And one that's gotten the most mention so far is Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist, a sequel to Ender Lillies, which I never finished. So, of course, I had to go back and play Ender Lillies before I can play Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist.
Yeah.
And I had tried this game when it came out a few years ago, and I liked it. I think it was like, I'm just trying stuff for end of year. And I was like, this is not going to make my list. So moved on. Developed by Binary Haze. So a combination of binary domain and
kind of a perfect name, I would say.
Yeah, Huck's
I
got
want to check it
Haze.
I got the Binary Haze, all right.
I'm going through Ender Lillies right now, and I'm really enjoying it. I've just been plowing through it. I'm almost at the end, I think. I'm going to 100% it, and I'm really enjoying it. And move right on to Ender Magnolias, which I think, from what I've heard, is supposed to be even better. So I'm really digging it. Definitely worth checking out, and it's getting me back in the mood for Metroid likes. And what I like about Ender Lillies, it's not super hard. It's not, it's got good feedback for rooms where you haven't gotten everything yet. So I'm not like just randomly searching areas for secrets. It's very, I would say, a very fair game. It's sometimes tough to equate fairness with action games or single player games. It's one of the most fair, playable Metroid likes I've played in a long time, and I'm really enjoying it. So if you passed up on that initially back in the day, give it a shot. It's a really solid game.
Yeah, I never played either of them. Had been hearing good things about Ender Magnolia. Looks like Ender Lillies is in my PlayStation library. I think it was on Plus at some point. So
yeah, I think it was, because I bought it on Steam and didn't play it, and then I was surprised to see that I already owned it. So fired it up.
Nice.
Decent game.
Yeah, there's been a couple of games like this that a sequel has come out, and then I didn't play the original, and I'm like, now I got to play the original. I think
Blasphemous would be the other one for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then Tales of Iron 2, I think, just came out recently. And I had heard good things about Tales of Iron 1. I don't know if that's actually a Metroidvania or not. It's kind of like that. But anyway, I haven't played that one either. So
Listed as just an action RPG here
okay.
for Tales of Iron 2. Not sure about the first one. All right, Sean, anything else for you?
I mean, I don't know. I've been dabbling in a lot of stuff, but that's good enough for now. I'll have some more stuff next week, probably.
Okay. I'll just mention I tried Eternal Strands. Actually, I'll say first, I finally beat and platinumed Dragon Age, and you guys should have been all over me in our top
Platinumed.
top 10 episode. I kept calling it Dragon Age Veilguard.
Yeah, I did notice that.
You missed that.
Veilguard. So
Huge mistake.
yeah, by you guys not correcting me. And I really enjoyed it. I was 78 hours in by the end, was happy to move on, but I really liked it. And then I went to Eternal Strands, which was made by developers that were an offshoot of BioWare
Interesting.
developers.
And some ex Ubisoft, right?
And some ex Ubisoft, yep. And it's just like there's so many similarities to the Veilguard, and like mapped to different controls sometimes. It also has a bit of Kingdoms of Amalur feel. Clearly, like more of a AA budget game. I didn't play much of it. I was like just testing it to see if I wanted to buy it on PlayStation. I played it on Game Pass, and I kind of want to play it. It's so close to something I just played that I'm like, it's just too much right now. But I might let myself reset a bit and play it later in the week. But it was pretty decent. And I did like the movement, felt very good, and it was fast paced, which I like, and felt like a bit of a throwback to a Xbox 360 game, which I'm always down for these days in terms of scope and size.
I actually fired it up today and then had it sit on the title screen for a solid 10 to 15 minutes, and then I shut off my Xbox. So I will plan to get to it one time, but that was on my list. But you know what I like about this time of year is I feel like I can play whatever I want. I don't feel like sucked into the you need to finish the top 10 list vibes or anything like that. I feel free to game again, whereas before I felt a little constricted. So I'm pretty excited to get back into gaming what I want to game.
Binary Domain. Game it all day.
I was thinking about it. I watched a video about Binary Domain today, so I was thinking about it.
Okay. I think that's it for me. Anyone else have anything they need to say?
Nope.
All right. Thank you for listening or watching on youtube.com/GameJunk. We'll see what's in store for next week. Maybe some news. Maybe some.
There's a couple big releases of Avowed, and I think
I'll be playing
like a Dragon game is coming out too.
I have pre-downloaded Avowed, so I'll definitely give some thoughts on that. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.